Hello there and welcome back to Inner Sanctum, the place where I show you all of my tricks, will pull them off live right in front of you. And today, it's finally working. It seems that everything's going fine because yesterday I tried to live stream and showcase some of the Logic Pro 12 features while producing a track with you, and it didn't last no more than 10 minutes. Why? Let me explain. I actually fixed it, and I actually had to face the same issue before going live today. For whatever reason, it seems that my hard drive had an issue with the library, the new built-in library, the sounds that come built-in with Logic. And for whatever reason, it was crashing on me, and it was actually, ejecting the hard drive. I moved the library to a different hard drive, and it should be working fine. It's been running smoothly for the last hour, so nothing should get in the way. So, what's the plan for today? Today we're going to be exploring, as I said before, all of the new features that comes with Logic Pro 12, which was released yesterday, and I want to explore one particular feature, which is the Chord ID, or it has some form of AI that allows Logic to know what kind of note or which note you're playing, or it's coming through, or it's coming from an audio sample, an audio region, if I use proper terminology, Logic terminology, or MIDI region, just by dragging it on top of a particular section of the workspace of Logic. So with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome back to Logic Pro 12, which is basically speaking looking the same way as Logic Pro 11, and as it used to do back in the later stages of Logic Pro 10. Nothing changed dramatically when it comes to the layout or even the looks of the software itself. So what I want to work on today, or let's go through some of the obvious or newest additions, which is of course the chord identification software or feature that comes with Logic. How to access it? Easy. First and foremost, we gotta click on our keyboard and press the letter G, bam, and it's gonna bring the global features. And in here, as you can tell, I don't have anything. The arrangement, marker, signature, and tempo are the only ones available to me, but there is no chord or anything related to the chord situation we're going to be working with. So how to bring it in? Right click, and then we're going to look for chord. Bam! And it appeared all the way to the top. I'm going to drop it underneath tempo because it relies on you dropping stuff from the arrangement window onto the chord section over here on our global area. Okay, so now with that being said, how are we going to be exploring this feature? Good question. I'm glad you didn't ask. I'm going to be actually recording some guitar going through or going into Logic to test if it's actually working or not. And let's do it. I already have here my guitar. When I'm rocking my beloved CRE guitar, my Ascender. This bad boy has been around with me for almost 3 years now, and I got it as my traveling guitar because I happen to be quite active as a session musician, moving around, right? And it has this particular feature. What the hell is that? More on that later, but simply speaking, this thing falls and becomes super tiny. I'm gonna make a video on my thoughts on it, but if you're seeing me right now using it, right? I love it. It's fantastic. So I already got it hooked up, and I'm gonna be actually using my Tonex based mini board over here. This is the rig that I developed for studio use. It has plenty of sounds, and it sounds amazing. You'll see. First and foremost, we gotta go straight to Logic first and foremost. And also let me make sure that there was no issues here with the audio. No, perfect. Everything's working smoothly. Good. So first, we gotta be able to hear the guitar, right? So let's get Logic, and in here I'm gonna create a new track, audio track, of course, thank you very much. And I'm gonna select the inputs. In this case, it's gonna be input 3 and 4, because the system is actually a stereo rig. So if everything goes according to the plan, and if I turn on the input monitoring over here, we should be able to hear the guitar. Yeah, it's going beautifully, right? I am rocking this particular sound that I developed on Tonex, which will be available for you to download, in which I am actually using some of my preamps here in the studio. in an attempt to create this kind of super clean 80s sound that I love. And I think it's very convincing, to be very honest with you. I already have on my cabinet, or sorry, on my board, I have a particular pedal that is the one that works with the cabinet simulation stuff, which is underneath. I don't know if it's visible to you, but it's the Capsus, and it's a stereo version. It's a very cool sounding box, which has a built-in DI. So now we got everything going. I'm gonna record something so we can use as a reference point. And let's see, I already had this idea, the one that I tried to use yesterday. Sounds something like this. Very cool sounding. So I'm gonna use my split coil here because it's gonna give us a little bit brighter, a little bit more pointier sounding, which I think is gonna be very good for this kind of style. So I'm gonna go back to Logic first, and over here, I'm gonna first name correctly. This is gonna be GTR stereo. Good. And also color coding, very important. One thing, when color coding, if you are on the arrangement window and you go over here, let's say you click Alt-C, you bring the color palette. The thing is that if you select any color here, you'll see that, oh, now it's changing finally. Why am I saying this? Back in the day, like last week, if you bring the color palette or changing the colors over here, you would be only changing the colors of the regions, not the channel. It seems that now where no region is selected, the channel changes. Good. So I usually like to have my rhythm guitars in a greenish color, a little bit darker. Good. Perfect. So let's record. And also, super important, this is a piece of advice. Whenever I find myself recording anything, I always like to give myself at least 1 bar from the starting point. Why? By doing this, once I record my take, I would have some area or room to move around in case my playing was slightly ahead, because we shouldn't be quantizing everything. The idea of music is to be musical, right? And human sounding. So I always like to give myself 1 or even 2 bars. In this case, I'm gonna give me 2 bars because maybe I could do something fun later. Now let's see the tempo. Okay, so the way I like to find my tempo is by just making a loop on on a particular cycle, and I'm gonna turn on the click by pressing K, and let's see. Okay, like it. So let's do it. I'm gonna begin recording there, and my pre-recording is set to 1 bar. So that means that before the recording begins, the playhead is gonna move back 1 bar, and you can fix it or you can change it over here. This has been around since forever. Right click, and you'll see that you got plenty of options. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it as 1 bar. So let's do it. Okay, that should be enough. So let's make sure that it's the full bar. Sometimes I like to just cut it, okay? So this is the moment of truth. I'm gonna drag this region that I just recorded, and if everything goes according to the plan, we should get the chords. I'm gonna drop it here. Okay, it seems that it did it correctly, and even the tempo is very good. During my learning my way around the software or this particular version and this particular feature, I realized that at times the chords or the notes are properly presented, are correctly detected, but tempo-wise, they are kind of sometimes a little bit iffy. But we can see that all of the changes are taking place at the very point or the very starting point of the corresponding bar. Nice, it worked. Now, let's see if it actually makes sense. So let's add a bass player. Here is bass player retro rock. Yeah, let's see what we get out of it. Bada bim, bada bam. Oh, the stupid mistake. It dropped it right at the point in which the playhead was. So I'm gonna drag it, and that's gonna be a very, okay, it changed the notes. And look, first bug. We can see that it got the chord correctly. Even in here, we got it, but it didn't detect it at the very starting point. That's why we don't have any form of notes on the bass over here. So first, let's check if it's working. I'm gonna make a cycle out of my region, and let's see. Okay, that wasn't bad. Now let's fix this guy. Since we got no chord here, we can double click and it will give us this contextual menu. In here we're gonna select the notes the same way as we used to do back in Logic 11. Since according to the software, and let's put it to the test, it's giving us an F sharp minor 7. So let's double click over here and look for F. And see how fun it is. It here says that it's undefined, but it actually found the root of the note to be F sharp. So I'm gonna select F sharp, minor, 7. And according to theory, yes, it's working, and I'm quite impressed. Now, let's add another section, something a little bit akin to a, I don't know, like a verse or something. So, or rather, something similar to a chorus. So, let me bring back the input monitoring. So, let's see. We were here. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's record that. Again, I'm gonna give myself one bar. So we're over here. Here we go, and I'm gonna use the surface. So I have a correct. And let's arm this bad boy. Here we go. Recording. Okay, that was a tiny mistake there, but I'll fix it. The idea right now is to check how good the chord detector works. So I'm gonna put it here, just right at the very, right next to the section we previously recorded. This is how I like to produce music, by the way. especially when working with something more rock oriented. Since I'm coming up with ideas, I like to track them down, make them or lay them down, so that way I don't have to remember them later on. Imagine that I'm creating some form of a scrapbook of some sorts of ideas, of musical ideas, inspired by the same concept. And then I'm going to be using the arrangement section on Logic to move stuff around and start to develop a track. So, going back to Logic, let's drop it on the chord identifier or analyzer. Okay, same issue as before, and the thing is that it couldn't detect the first one. So let's see, maybe because of my playing. Let's see how it was. Okay. I'm gonna add now the bass player. Let's see if it detected correctly the rest. Nice, it worked. Now let's make sure that the timing is set right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because my performance was quite sloppy. So I'm gonna redo it. Let's re-record the same section. I'm gonna even leave the bass just to give me some vibe. Here we go. My mistake, once again. Okay. Now let's see if it gets it better. Still no chord, the first one. Let's see why. I'm gonna record just that particular chord as a chord. Okay, let's see. So according to Logic, it's a B minor 7. So let's see. Double click. So first let's find our key, B minor 7. I don't know. Correctly. I'm impressed. Now, you can see that I'm starting to develop some form of workflow with this, because it seems that this chord been so good. It's one of those difficult chords to detect just by ear, due to it's difficult to detect the root. So probably that's why. But you saw that as soon as I just played the chord itself, Logic could detect just that particular sample. So I'm gonna go back to my DAW, and let's see. I'm gonna remove the chord that I just recorded. There is no need for it, and also I'm gonna remove this chord marker. Now, let's see. Let's add a variation to this particular region. So we got. No. Let's see. Yeah, that could work. Just a variation at the end of the chord progression. So let's do it. So what? Here we go. I changed my mind, but that kind of works. So let's see. I'm gonna keep this guy as well, and let's see. Let's pretend that this is kind of like a second section of our chorus. And look, this time around, it got it. It got it correctly. B minor 7 at the very beginning. Maybe it's learning. I don't know. It could be. So let's add an extra bass in here, and I'm gonna leave it as it is for now. Why? Because now I wanna show you the synthesizers and the keyboards, because we're starting to get something cool. So I'm gonna put my guitar down for a while, and also make sure that it's off. No noise. Perfect. Now let's see. Coming back to Logic, I'm gonna zoom out just for us to be able to see the entirety of what we're working with. And I'm gonna delete this instrument. We have no use for it. And I'm gonna change this guy to be bass. There is. We got bass, and I usually like to have my bass on the top. And later we're gonna be adding drums. But now let's add some keyboards, because that's actually gonna be very cool. We're gonna go to plus, we're gonna add a keyboard player. And in this case, we're gonna be testing one of the newer ones. We got simple pad, modulated pad, and rhythmic chords. I wanna try is a modulated pad. Why? Because we can actually add something very similar to what you can do with Bitwig. So here we go. Keyboard player, thank you very much. And again, my mistake. You can see that I dropped it where it shouldn't be. I'm gonna remove the editor window first, and also I'm gonna drag this guy over here. And I gotta tell you, I'm starting to fall in love with this chord identification feature. It's fantastic. See how fast we're starting to ensemble a track. So let's see. I'm gonna zoom in, and let's create a looping region just over there. And I'm gonna remix my track so we can have a better idea of what's going on. So for this, I'm gonna add a very basic drum pattern just to keep it going. I'm gonna go for psychedelic rock, because it's kinda old-timey. So let's see. That's Drummer, the previous iteration of Drummer. It's still as good as always. So let's see. Oh, one thing, I like to have my bass and drums first, then bass, and so on and so forth. So let's see. Okay, you get it. Now we got this kind of going. Let's play around a little bit with the modulated synthesizer player. Double click so we can get the editor window. And if you are familiar, let me get rid of my face. If you're familiar with the previous iteration of Logic, session musicians, you might understand how this works. For those of you who are new to this, the first section over here on the keyboard player, it's what allows you to control the space between how far the notes played by one hand are or the other are between each other. So if you have a little bit of experience playing keyboards, you might recognize that this side, your left hand usually will control some of the low or mid lows, and in contrast, your right hand is going to control mids and highs, note-wise. So that's cool because you can do that here. So even though we're working with a kind of bright and kind of shiny sounding guitar, I think we can push my voice into a little bit more on the higher end. Let's see. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, you could detect that there is some form of modulation already taking place while the pad is playing. That's due to this. In this new iteration of Logic, we got this envelope and this LFO. What's that? Because manual is the sequence as before. But these are the two new features, this section over here, okay? So, what's that? First envelope. Envelope is following a pattern, similar to how you create the patterns on the drummer instrument or the drummer performer, but also you got this section over here. This is basically an envelope similar to what you would find on a keyboard or a synthesizer, right? The tag tells you how fast the effect or how fast you're going to move a particular knob on the keyboard or the synthesizer. Why? Let me rephrase it. If you're familiar with synthesizers or modular stuff, such as this is a Mach 32, and you can see that it has some cables hanging from this particular section. This is the matrix. Over here, you can select one of the different elements of the synthesizer to control another element through the use of an oscillation, because a synthesizer produces sound through the use of an oscillator, okay? And let's say that you assign, I don't know, an LFO, which stands for low frequency oscillator, to be affecting the point on which the cutoff frequency happens. So what you would do in the end with the LFO is going to be moving this automatically, following the speed of the LFO, how fast or the rate of the LFO. Okay, so now we got this understood. Let's take a look at Logic. Right now, if you change stuff around, something's going to happen. Look, I'm going to solo the keyboard. My mistake. Let me make sure that that doesn't happen again. Let me show you this. When I solo that instrument, my voice cut out. Why? Because my channel over here in Logic that contains my voice should be solo safe. So by holding Alt or Option and then clicking, Control and Option and then clicking on the solo button, now you turn that particular track solo safe, which means that if I solo something else, my voice is still coming through. Nice. Okay, so easy to fix. Coming back to the whole thing, I was saying that a continuous controller, it's basically voltage that you're going to be sending, and it's going to be used to control a particular parameter. It's similar to the example that I gave you regarding the LFO controlling the cutoff point of the oscillator or the filter on the bow. Now, taking a look back at Logic, you'll see that our synthesizer is being affected through this envelope to something that is assigned to CC74. So now let's take a look at our inspector. Let's look for our synthesizer. Right now we got Alchemy. And if we go here, we can see that 74 is Control C, which I assume is the cutoff. Let's see. Okay, kinda, but since Alchemy is kinda complex, I'm gonna show you the same, but on a particularly on a simpler synthesizer. Sounds amazing as well. Let's take a look. I'm actually quite impressed with this Alchemy sound, by the way. So, how to do this? Because this is actually a killer app. You can take advantage of these virtual musicians while using some of your favorite VSTs or virtual instruments, if I use the proper terminology, audio units, if we go full on Logic. How? Easy. We simply have to insert and replace the guy we got already inserted. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna change Alchemy for something different. Let's look for, let's try Access Stereo, which is totally not on ARP. Okay, this guy sounds like this. Default. Okay, it was set to mono, so let's turn it into polysynth. That out of the box sounds amazing, right? Let's see. Let's see how it fits first with the rest of the mix. Nice. But what's the point of this? Let's apply the modulation, the one coming out of the performer, to this knob. How to do it? Let me make sure that it's visible to you. Perfect. If you zoom in over here, what is that? CC. If we click over there, we'll see that this controller is assigned to number 3. So this guy, I'm gonna turn it into, let me see how to do it. Clear. Yes. Now this guy, I want it to be 64. So I think I will have to use my surface. Why? Over here on the surface, I have controllers sending the MIDI information. So if I recall correctly, this guy is gonna be sending 74. Yeah, perfect. Do you need a MIDI controller? Chances are yes, because some of these synthesizers or virtual instruments require you to have well, when you click on the CC or learn function, it's actually expecting the signal to come in from something like this. You don't need this guy. You can do it with something much more simple, such as, oh, over here, look. I got, which one is it? I think it's something like this, look. The knobs over here in this guy are actually MIDI compatible, so you can actually create some form of MIDI signal, CC control coming out of that, okay? Not expensive, not affordable. Okay. Now I got this out of the way, it's assigned. Let's see if it's working. I'm gonna solo once again the synthesizer. Badass, right? That's awesome. Because what you're doing with this is basically speaking, having the virtual keyboard player control the pitch, the filter, the cutoff filter in this particular instance, similar to what you would do if you were performing on a synthesizer. This is amazing. Wow. And look, I'm gonna see if I can make sure that both are visible on screen. I'm gonna change the rhythm on which the performance takes place. Let's try this guy out. Badass! Love it! If I change the tech, see what happens. Now imagine this. What if we automate this bad boy? I don't know if I can do it. Let's see. So I'm gonna change my, I'm gonna turn on the automation mode over here. And I don't know if this works, because I can't see this being an actual automation element. Let's see what we can get. Aftertouch MIDI modulation. I don't know if it's the one coming out of the wheel. Smart controls, could it be? Output bandpass, no. No. MIDI channel, no. Volume, no. No. Modulation. I don't think so, man. It could have been awesome. But no worry. It's basically automated anyway, because it's actually following this particular tempo. I was just simply wondering if I could actually move this around while the performance takes place. But look, we can change even the curvature of it. So let's make it a little bit smoother. I like it like that. That's awesome. Now, LFO. We haven't checked that guy out. So I'm gonna bring back this guy, and now I'm gonna click on the LFO. This guy is gonna be doing something similar, but instead of following a pattern, this guy is gonna follow a rhythm. Okay? Because as you can tell, this guy over here is an oscillator. Starts here, moves all the way down, all the way to the top, and then drops down dramatically, and then it ramps up again, just for it to fall down again. So, how to use it? First and foremost, let's click over here. And then, look at that, it's also affecting CC74, which means that it's actually affecting both, it's affecting the same parameter on our synthesizer. Let's see what happens if I change this guy to be 73. Okay, I'm gonna assign the LFO to affect the resonance point. So once again, I'm gonna click on the CC section over here. I'm gonna select this guy, and I'm gonna use 73. But there it is, perfect. So if I, let's see, this guy should move in accord to this particular shape. This, okay? So pay attention to this particular fader. Man, I love it, because it's giving this quasi organ-like sound, while also giving us this motion, thanks to the LFO affecting the sound of our or the positioning of our filter. And you can see that we actually did it using a third-party virtual instrument. Badass. Okay, you saw me also moving stuff around. I played with the rate, which is telling the software how fast this cycle takes place. Then we're using the chords each time the chord begins on the coming from the chord detector software for this to restart. Okay, synchronized to it. We can change the symmetry, which is changing the shape, which is going to give us a completely different sound. And also we can change the phase, which is also going to start the motion at a different point. Being very frank, I liked at 0 and using this particular shape. Let's try a different oscillation. This is going to be much more of a sine wave. I, for one, prefer the first one, the triangle wave, but you can tell that we got the sine wave is very similar to the triangle, but of course it's smoother. It gave us a much more kind of softer effect. I prefer it like this because it feels like a ramp up. This is actually a ramp up frequency rather than a triangle. Then we also got the square, which of course at the beginning was flat because, as you can tell, there is no motion. You need to have the envelope, the LFO to go down on its polarity for it to have an effect. And then we got random. This is great for some form of, if we were chasing some form of kind of, not syncopated, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of arpeggiated kind of sound, like coming out in and out, like a very choppy sound, okay? Awesome. Now, let's spread this around using the arrangement that we already got going. So, how to do it? Well, let's keep adding more sections. I'm gonna add drumming sections for the rest of the music we got already. I'm gonna then drop some more keywords. And man, the fact that I can actually rely on my keys over here is saving me a lot of time. I'm very impressed. This is the first time I actually use this version of Logic at this length. Because now we got a fully featured track. Of course, it's still just a bunch of ideas thrown together. But let's listen to the whole thing from start to finish as it is. Here we go. Nice! Now let's try out another new feature in Logic, which is what's her face? The sequencer. I'm gonna create for this particular effect, I'm gonna create a new virtual instrument, an empty channel strip for now. Let's see. And I'm gonna create a pattern region. Bada bim, bada bam. Ooh, nothing special, right? Yeah, not necessarily speaking special, but let's see. What can we do with this? We can actually select the notes of our song. How can I do that? Is there a way for me to actually follow the chords here? That would be amazing. Let's see. I'm gonna make these, it's 16 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, with the full length. Perfect. So here's the deal. I'm gonna be adding some form of, let's try out some percussions. So I'm gonna create a new instance of battery. I'm gonna summon battery 4. And yes, native instruments and all of the drama. For those of you who are in the know, yes, some form of drama is going on with native instruments. It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion, I think, but we will see as time goes on. Because they filed for, if I recall correctly, insolvency. They haven't said that they are going bankrupt. And the thing is that native instruments being the biggest name in the business when it comes to this, virtual instruments and stuff, it's a big deal. I happen to be a huge user of their stuff. I've been using, for example, over there I got a machine, which I love. Is one of my favorite tools here in the studio whenever I'm not working with rock music. And also the keyboard that I show you is a complete M32, I think. Very useful and very nice. Okay, but coming back to this. Let's load the percussion set. But I want a kit. Let's say that guy. No, I want something a bit more synthetic. That's too much. Let's try satin looks, but those are snares, I think. Yeah, those are snares. I want something a bit more. Yeah, let's try the Afro. Okay. Now, what are we gonna do with this? We're gonna look for the keys, the range of the keys containing the notes that we want, or the instruments that we want to get out of this section, right? So I'm gonna simply go here. I'm gonna select the region. I'm gonna make a looping region, a cycle, and then this is gonna be fun. We got something that totally doesn't look like the randomizer on Bitwig. Well, it's basically a randomizer, and it does this. And look, it has one that is applied to the entirety of the notes here. Does it make sense? I don't know. Let's see. I'm gonna solo the sound of my battery. And speaking of which, let me change the name. It's already Afro Kit. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it as Afro. So let's see. Sounds like this. Okay, it's messy. Why? Because we got plenty of instruments that I don't want to have. So let's bring back battery and let's find the ones that we like. That's good. It's using C1. And okay, that was dead. Okay, so let's stick to C1, C#2, C#3, C#4. So basically C1 and all of the C sharps. So we're gonna go here, notes, we're gonna go for C1. C sharp now, C sharp 2, C sharp 3. Oh, we already got it there, so we can have two of them. No, that's gonna be kind of dumb. C sharp 4. And I'm gonna remove the other guys. Delete. Delete. And according to the plan, let's see, that might be useful. I'm gonna leave a fifth instrument. It's right now triggering F#2. Let's see. Okay, it's a bell. Let's hear. Nice. Let's see with the rest of the mix. Badass! Let's make it less robotic. So, when we click on this section, on this arrow, we now have access to the entirety of the different elements, and we can keep adding more if I think, yes, we can keep adding more of these bad boys. So, easily. Let's play around with first the velocity. Right now, everything is super flat, and that's not cool. It sounds very fake. So I'm gonna apply a little bit of velocity, but you can see that we got some of these sounds are barely audible due to the low velocity. So I'm gonna right click, and we will on the dice, and we're gonna select range. We're gonna set it to, I don't know, maybe, yeah, somewhere like that, 50 to 127, which is the maximum. Then I'm gonna click here. Look at this. Now all of them are gonna be kinda there. Then repeat. This is totally not out of Bitwig, of course. This is gonna tell how often these particular notes will be played more than once. You can see that all of them are set to repeat once, which is just one hit. But if I move this guy over here, you can see that I'm starting to add more. And see what happens. I'm gonna solo the drum kit, and you see, pay attention to this. You saw, it was like a super fast metal drum kit. So what I'm gonna do is maybe do the same. I like that idea. But I'm gonna add a little bit of, once again, the range is gonna be 1 to 2. Some of them will be like just like very fast, and I'm gonna add a probability of maybe 67%. And one thing, if you're over here, you don't have to get out of this particular contextual menu. You simply click on randomize repeat, bam, nice. So you can see that we already got some of those that will be repeating. Then tie, I don't know what that does. I haven't checked. Randomize tie. Randomize the values of the step in the room according to the probability amount. Not same. Oh, it's how those are stuck together. Look at that. It changed the entire thing. Huh. On the gate, well, the hits. Now chance, this is going to be interesting. This means that whenever the loop restarts, the region restarts, and this is actually very cool. This is totally, once again, not out of Bitwig. This will change, will add an element of luck to these sounds to be hit. So, for example, if I put it like chance of 25 all the way down to 50 to 100%, you'll see that some of these guys will be hitting. For example, this guy is going to happen only 56% of the time. This guy only 32, 63, 43. That means that every time that we play back this guy, this bad boy, chances are this guy is not going to play. Let's see. Super cool. So with that being said, let's add some randomization to everything. Now we're at it. And again, Chord Track, good. And also one thing, when you click on randomize here, basically speaking, is just gonna change the positioning of the notes. Not necessarily speaking, it's gonna affect the rest, as you can tell. So let's see, something like this. Let's play with the repeat. Good. And now. Nice, right? But look at this. What if I tell you that we can actually apply modulation to something outside of using the step sequencer to something outside of the notes? We go here to automation. Look at that! Wow! We can assign this MIDI controller to one of the different elements of battery. But what if we try that on an effect? Let's insert a filter. I'm gonna use the Moog filter. There is, perfect. Perfect, there is. And see what it does. I'm gonna remove the drums, just battery. Okay, you get the gist, right? The idea is to add some form of color. So once we do this, let's create a new automation lane, and I'm gonna select main, let's see, instrument battery, but it's only the bypass. I was hoping for this to be possible to affect. Or mini, no. Kinda lame, but no problem. Because if we go to battery, Jesus Christ, that's a problem. Finding the right one is gonna be a mess. How could we do this? Yeah, that's gonna be tough, man. Let's see. Maybe learn and add. Let's see. Maybe using the learning function. No. Learn assign. Let's try this. I'm gonna create a MIDI or a MIDI control, and then we're gonna use. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me show you. This is gonna be nice. We're gonna use the smart controls. Over here we got the controls. As you can see, they are assigned to nothing. I'm gonna click over here, and I'm gonna change this guy to be. Let's see. Okay, no, this guy is not the one I want to have access to. Let's see. Be put no external assignment. Track, yeah. So because I will map this guy. Here it is, perfect. I'm gonna bring up the cutoff frequency of the Moog. I'm gonna bring it here, and if everything goes according to the plan, if I move it, yes, perfect, awesome. Now we're pod racing. So after assigning this guy, I'm gonna go back to the parameters here on my automation lane. I'm gonna go for, look at this. It now appeared. Cut off. But this is CB. That's not what I want. Cut off. Just the regular cut off. So if we randomize it, and the value, excellent. Look at this. I'm gonna add all sorts of, I'm gonna just fill it up, okay? And then I'm gonna randomize the values. I'm gonna bring back the effect and pay attention to the position of the cutoff point. This guy. He should move. It didn't. What the hell's going on? This is cut off. Let me see. Let's try using the CB. I don't think that's gonna be the one, but whatever. Let's see. Not working yet. So I'm gonna switch to my first trick. Cut off 1. It's working. How? Why the first one didn't work and the second one did? I think it's because this is version 1 of this this Logic Pro 12 installment. So the one that worked is the one that I created by using the smart controls. See what happens with this knob as well. Nice. So if we go back to our sequencer, now I'm gonna add less motion because this is kind of obnoxious and it's a little bit too much, too over the top. Even less. Let's add a smaller chance, maybe somewhere around there. Let's see. Nice. And the same applies as before. We can find, for example, chance. And let's randomize it as well. So that means that sometimes these instances of movement are going to happen or not. So now let's bring back the rest of the mix and see what we got. And I'm going to just duplicate this particular pattern here so we can have the entirety of this section engaged. So I'm going to remix everything from the top. So here we go. And I'm going to put this this kit, the rhythmic section, at the very beginning, because again, that's how I like to have my mixes. Always beginning with drums. I'm going to change this guy to be drums. Then percs. Make sure there's caps because it's easier to read from afar. Perfect. So let's see, and this is going to be bad. Caps again. Perfect. My habit. Okay, now from the top, and we're gonna duck down everything. And look at that. I knew it. This is bass, and this is percs. I couldn't find the bass when pushing faders. So let's see once again from So you got it. That was great. I'm quite impressed, being very frank with you. This is, again, as I said before, is the first time I spent this much time with this new version of Logic. If this is the first time you watching this content, well, you can tell that I am kind of familiar with Logic because actually the entire basis of this studio has always been, well, the backbone has always been Logic Pro. I happen to be very much trained in Logic, and I always read the manual before doing something like this. And I told you as well that I actually did some form of test around and some debugging before going live. And yeah, these new features are impressive, are very good, very, very functional, and actually they work better than I expected. Because you can see, I happen to be a fan of analog gear, and synthesizers are one of the things that I love about music. I happen to be a huge fan of them. I have a modest collection, and on my computer I have several iterations of different synthesizers that I happen to be very big of a fan of. And having these modulation features coming out of the keyboard player is fantastic. Very impressed. The fact that I can apply those modulations to anything that is not made by Apple is fantastic as well, because Alchemy is a great synthesizer, don't get me wrong, but there are some sounds that are only possible coming out of different synths. And I think that I could, theoretically speaking, do that, apply those synthesizer moves using the modulation on an analog synthesizer using MIDI. Let's try that next week. This is totally out of my orifices because I have no idea if it actually would work. But it should, because it's sending MIDI. I'm going to do some tests before going live, of course, and I think it should work. Stay tuned for that one. with that being said, thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. If you like to support this channel, well, the best way to do it is by subscribing, of course. Being part of this journey is always welcome. But also, well, don't be that kind of a douche and like the video. You've been watching for an hour, so it should be for free. Come on, man. It's the least you can do. So, without antagonizing, thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and as every single time that I meet you, I gotta remind you that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about, and remember that I'll see you when I see you.